How you doing? My name is Terron Brooks, and I am Third Culture.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is the I Am Third Culture podcast. My name is Vaughn, and I get the honor and the privilege to be with my dude, man. This is Mr. Terron Brooks, actor, singer, songwriter, dad, husband, and lived a very successful life thus far, and you're still blazing, man. And so it's just it's an honor to have you here. It's an honor just to call you friend.
Yeah.
And on the real, man.
Man, I appreciate you asking me.
Over the years, it's always such a great time being with you. And I just, like we talked about last night, man, we just pick up where we left off, and nothing's lost. And we just keep tracking. And so, again, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And so, like, I wanted to first talk about, a fun entry into the conversation, man, because like how we met, right?
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
a lot of people have asked us here this weekend, like how I met you and stuff. And so if none of y'all have seen the Temptations movie, the made-for-TV movie about the Temptations, this is Mr. Eddie Kendricks right here. And so there was a time where I had just graduated from undergrad. I was living in the basement of a family's home, and they had this Temptations DVD, and I couldn't get cable down there, so I was just watching this hours, dude. Every night I was watching the show, just quoting the lines, and it just became, one of my realistically one of my all-time favorite movies. And so before I had met you, and then when I moved out to LA, I was at a conference, and this gentleman was getting coffee at the, just at a, help yourself kind of thing. And I saw him, and I was like, dude, that's Eddie. I was like, so I went up to him. I was like, excuse me, are you Mr. Eddie Kendricks? and lo and behold, it was you. And, it turned out that we actually had some mutual friends. And we exchanged some information, and then we kept in touch ever since, man. And it's been a lot of fun.
And added to that story was you gave me, was it a CD or something? Yeah. And I get CDs and stuff all the time, and so let me put this in, and I was just moved by it. It was just extraordinarily unique and well done, well crafted. And then that propelled me to kind of get in touch with you, which that seldom happens,
Yeah.
And then, here we are. But, I was really, really, really impressed with the content.
Thank you.
So
I remember that day too. I was actually out taking a walk, and I remember getting your phone call. I didn't recognize the number, I don't think. And then, dude, I was like, oh man, and I called my wife after. I was like, dude, Eddie Kendricks just called me.
He's on my phone.
Yeah. So, but that was so fun, man. Because I remember we would link up every once in a while because we were living in the same city then, and we would write together, and and it's been such a fun journey.
Family,
with you, man.
watching you, and having your son.
Yeah,
because he wasn't born when we met, right?
Correct.
No, yeah.
No, yeah.
So,
and I don't think you had Taylor yet.
No, I don't think I did.
Right.
Or we were having her.
Or it was.
Yeah. Well,
no, she wasn't
she's
born.
8. Yeah.
I remember when I moved to San Jose. That's when she was born.
Because we were living in Chino Hills. Yeah,
right.
man.
Yeah. Small world, man.
Small world,
and it goes
man.
so fast.
And
dude,
then even to see what Third Culture has become from what it was then.
Yeah,
it's just exciting.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Well, family man. How long you been married?
16 years.
16 years.
It's 16 years married, but probably 21 years together.
Okay.
And I count those years too.
Sure.
Personally, just because that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
And marriage is its own separate thing, but just knowing someone, looking over and really knowing someone for that length of your time, especially being young when we met, and then just still going strong, and it doesn't feel like it,
Right.
16 years is a considerable long time,
Sure is.
other than raising kids and being together, but when you're in your kind of sweet spot, it just feels like, well, this is my life. So add on another year, but
2 beautiful kids.
wonderful kids, teachers. My kids are teachers.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to do something for them, but they're like shining lights and illuminating my path. And, you know, calling me to be my highest self. You know, and you don't necessarily think that children would be able to do that, but both of my kids really do that for me. They're gifts. You know?
Absolutely.
So, and I'm a family guy, man. Everything that I do is around them. You know, is for them. It's inspired by them. That's really, if anyone would ask, what would be my greatest success, it would be just my family. And I've always wanted a family. You know, when I was younger, I want to be married. I want to have kids. You know, so I just am very, very thankful for them. You know?
Well, going back to the Temptations, which is maybe how some, you know, a lot of people might recognize the face or even the name. Maybe talk about, because that was one of your earlier experiences in acting, right?
So that was really, I mean, I was doing some Broadway, you know, tour plays, musicals, musical theater, but literally when I auditioned for the Temptations, I had nothing on my resume, maybe a couple TV credits here or there, but not nothing serious. So it was really a miraculous thing to even go down and think you would be considered for something like that, to be one of the Temptations on a major miniseries. I think that's kind of what got me through it, because if I thought I had a possibility, maybe a chance, I would have been more nervous, and I was like, oh, this is never gonna happen. Let me just go down here real quick, you know.
And I remember you telling me about it one time, that even the movie itself being made, it wasn't, it kind of evolved into what it is now, like what they wanted
to pour into it. It got bigger, because when you think about the Temptations as a group, they weren't just a, you know, R&B black group. It's the world. That's my girl. All these songs are.
It's Americana history.
It kind of is that Motown thing that Berry Gordy had started, with, you know, majority of African American voices and people have become a world phenomenon for and the soundtrack of people's lives. So I think when you're telling the story, as far as a network's concerned, they're thinking one thing, and they're like, wait a minute, we got to remember that this is bigger. It's bigger, I suppose. You know? So I'm blessed.
And it turned into, I mean, how many years is it now?
It's about 22 years, man, and
it's still on TV constantly,
and all around the world, and I get, you know, recognized, because I forget, like, I've been doing something else, you know, Eddie or something, you know, at the gym, and I think I look different. I have no hair, you know, and people really, like, whether they know the lines or have an affinity to the story or my character in particular, it's just been, and then meeting those icons like Smokey Robinson and Diana Ross. And,
so you had some interaction
Otis,
with them. Wow.
Yeah, around that time, and they were like, you know, to play someone that they know and loved, you know.
Were they actually speaking into it all, or were they just kind of observing some things?
No, not in that way. They were just very complimentary. You know, it wasn't really anything. I mean, I had done my research about Eddie and about the Temptations extensively, but they were just more, you know, you're on the right track, you know. And even down to, like, Eddie's family members, you know, his daughter, his one of his nieces or nephews said, "You move your neck like my uncle." Like, you know, things that I had not tried to emulate, just doing it naturally, I guess. They can point out, you know, things that just really supported my work, you know. So it's just been.
Didn't Smokey even say something?
Smokey said, "You're like the ghost of my friend."
Wow. So, come on.
Because they were very close, obviously, but they're like the ghost of my friend. So I don't attribute all of that to talent, like I said, because that was my first thing. I think I attribute that to what's for you is for you. That's a real thing, you know. And when you step into what's for you and what God has for you, and it is yours, and nobody else could do it, that's, you know, then there's a certain power to that, like, and also timing, when you come to the right timing, and it's the right moment for you, you know. It's not always people are saying no because you don't have this or have, it's just it's not going to be received right now. Maybe 5 years it'll be received, they'll be ready for you. And that's how I look at it, like the people that need to be in line are not in line yet. They're not in place yet. You know, so are you going to be potent like this, or are you going to shine? And so you need all of these things to happen so you can shine.
That's good.
And when you can relax in that, it's hard, it's disappointing, but then, and you see it. I've seen it in my life. Oh, that's why. If that would have happened 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been this.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't have been the right person to, you know.
I think that's even a possibility of going both two different ways with that, right? Yeah. One could be frustrating.
Sure.
But the other one could be freeing and liberating, because like you, as you're saying, as what I'm gathering from you is like a lot of those, the timing, the pieces, the places, the people, it's out of your control. Like that could be frustrating, or it could be freeing. Right, because there's a lot of just almost surrendering.
Both, especially if you've been waiting a long time for something like that. And I can say in my career, I've been waiting a long time for some things where I felt like I was passed over, or, you know, to be honest, that I deserved. You know, when I do this, and when I do this, it should equal that. That is not the truth. It does not equal. 1 + 1 is not always 2.
Right.
In the business that I'm in, and so, you know.
That's really good. In fact, I'm gonna probably hop around, because I love to talk about the Temptations thing. There's so much in that experience for you and us as listeners. But you mentioned just now some of those things that, you know, are for you, and you think they're for you, and it's not your time and all that. And so being in your industry, man, can be really trying, right? I mean, just entrepreneurial things in general can be artistic endeavors can be very trying, because you have in a mind a formulaic approach, like I did this, and this, it should equal this, and that's not always the case. So one of the things that I'm really intrigued with, and, you know, talking to people like yourself that have battled resistance and won in certain areas, how do you handle no? How do you handle, because like when you're trying out for roles and auditioning, you hear no more than yes, correct?
Okay.
Correct. So like how I'm intrigued by the psyche that does not become offended, does not become callous, does not become so frustrated that you quit, and on and on and on. How maybe some of your thoughts, insights.
I think, you know, if I'm talking about how I've overcome that, because it took a long time to really not take the no personal. The victory that I've gotten over no is really going time to me is currency. They say time is money. It really is. So I want to make money. You know, I want to make enough for my family, enough to live, enough to bless others, enough to help people. But if you we all have the same amount of time. You've heard that.
Right.
So say I go out for a role or specific or anything that I want, right? A no to me now, as disappointing as it could be, is protection from somewhere that I don't need to be. Okay? And so I could really want it, because I don't know what's on the other side of it. I know the dollar amount. I know whatever I think it's going to be. Okay? But time is currency. So if I'm going to be wasting time at a specific thing that I think that I want, the no is almost like a shocking. At my point, it's not I wasn't good enough or I didn't do a good job, or it's just like, no, you don't need to be wrapped up in that right now. Or that time currency is not going to be, the money might be amazing and I might be disappointed because of the money, but the time currency or the investment is going nowhere. And that's really a spiritual concept, because only God has time in his hands and knows where I need to be. I'm a big person of potency. I want to be very effective. I don't want to just sing. I don't want to just act. I don't want to just do art for you to look at and be like, and then go away. I want it to stay with you. I want it to mean something. And I know my specific art that I've created has to have a place. Right? And so the no, and I believe sometimes when people want to say yes, they just say no. Like they don't even, because we put too much control in a casting agent or an executive or the industry. We put all of our control, like whatever they say, that's not really the truth. It's not whatever they say. There's somebody bigger holding those strings. So if you want to be mad at somebody, that's another thing. I got to figure out, who am I mad with? Who am I upset with? What is the real reason? There's also reasons where someone says no because you're not ready, and there's some things that you could have done. So that's when you prepare. When you prepare, when you can be ready for the no. It's very combat. It's like you fight because the no doesn't mean, well, I guess I could have practiced more, or I could have done. I don't really see those things. No. And 9 out of 10s, man, it's not too long after where the yes will show up, and then I'll go, oh, and the yes could be less money, less meaningful in my mind, but wherever we're always built as an entrepreneur, you're building something. Right. So, I know a lot of people that it seems they're lucrative, making a lot of money, but it's flat. They haven't built anything, So I'm really conscious that has protected me when I go,
That's really good. But I'm intrigued too by that conversation, that tension you mentioned of who am I mad at? Oh, yeah. That's good. Like unpack that a little more.
That's just my thing. Yeah. I'll go back, and I won't give you the whole story, but when I had my daughter, we lost our home. And I remember it was a mixture of a lot of things that happened. I was embarrassed. I couldn't pay the mortgage. It was, someone else's house that we were, it was just a lot of stuff. And then I remember getting mad at God, like, for the first time. Okay. Because everything was always placed, and he'd already done everything I asked him to do. You know what I mean? So this was a time. He was a good God. Yeah. This was a time where, like, some real anger came up. Wow. Like, we always ask, why me? Or why is it happening now? Or I've served you, I've done this, this shouldn't happen to me, or I've given you this, and really some really deep-seated negativity, anger came out, and it could only be directed to him. I could try to blame it to anybody else, and you know what happened? It was the best thing as far as my relationship with God, because first of all, he can handle it. He already knew about it, and he was almost saying, okay, well, now we can talk. Now is the beginning of the relationship, finally, because you've been acting this kind of way, And so, to answer your question about that, it's like if I can direct, because the big boss or the, ultimate supreme creator is ultimately, if I put my trust in that, that's the reason. That's the reason. It ain't because of you. It ain't because of you. And if I always go back to that point, even if when I'm disappointed and I'm hurt and I can bring it to the right source, then I can be healed. Then I can get the right answer. But if I make it about all these other different things, then I'm giving control to. I think that's just what I've done to give me the peace of mind and to really get deep into why I might be upset. You know what I mean? Or maybe I need to be redirected. Yeah. So my anger could be a gift, because I need to be, maybe there's some, well, that's why you didn't get it, bro. You're not ready to handle that. You feel entitled. You feel this. You feel that. So, and I tell people that, well, who are you mad at?
That's good.
There's like a pause, you know what I mean? Because you're mad at me, circumstances, relationship, your mama did it, they did it. No, because they don't have as much as control as you're giving them.
Yeah, that's good. Right?
And then I think there's real healing. It takes a long time.
Yeah, but that whole giving control thing you're mentioning, man, that's a big deal, man, because we allow so many things that we can't control to control us. Right? We're captive to our fear, we're captive to our anxiety, we're captive to other people's expectations, or how they've their critique of us, or their indifference toward us. And whether it's relational or otherwise, or professional, like you're saying, man, like we have much more control than I think maybe we give ourselves credit for, in allowing people to dictate. I'm mad, and you shut the door. You did this, and it's so easy to take on that victim mentality.
Absolutely.
And it feels good. It feels like
a little bit safe. Yeah.
It feels like a warm blanket in the winter. Like it's cozy, man. Because, and I think one of those things that I've, just in my own personal journey and studies is that, like, I feel like that victim mentality, like, one of the things that makes it so attractive in my psyche is that if I'm a victim, now I'm absolved of responsibility.
Absolutely.
I don't need. It's your fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I don't need to do the hard work. When that's not always. That's very rarely is that ever the case.
Usually it isn't.
And so I think, man, that's a great message, man. To the who you mad at. That's a great question to ask in those times. Man.
And it's interesting to say that, and it's to say that you would be mad at God. But that's usually. Yeah. That's usually the answer.
Yeah.
That you are. You're a little and. I say, yeah, bring it on, though. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he can handle it.
He can handle it, and maybe we're saying it in a kind of comical way. You know what I mean? But that's taboo to think you should be mad at God. But it's just a questioning, or maybe it's a doubt, or maybe it's just a fear. You know what I mean? That you have, but God can really, handle all that. So I think that's kind of how I've dealt with that control, and also, I go into the intention of why I'm doing any of this stuff. You know what I mean? And we can really be false. We can tell, we can have the right answer, you know what I mean? The Hollywood answer, well, I'm doing it for this, this, and this. And then there's also these deep-seated things, weeds that really need to be pulled out, so you can get to, and I'm not mad at anybody that says they want to be a millionaire, they want to be a celebrity.
Sure.
If that's your why, you're going to act accordingly. You're going to do those things that bring you that things because that's your why.
Yeah.
For many, many years, I think I was conflicted. I had a couple of different whys. A why that would suit you, a why that would suit my family, and then I had mine. And it was confusing, because I didn't want to honor mine, whatever mine was, you know what I mean? So once I kind of stripped all that away, there's just, so much peace in that. I think it's always bigger than what you think with God. And when I got to that, I was like, no, say no to me. You know what I mean? Because I'm searching for the bigger thing, the better thing, the best thing.
The better thing, for you, right?
For me.
Yeah,
and it doesn't always mean money.
Right.
How am I going to grow, to be the person that can accept the money?
Yeah. That's good.
And so that might take a little time, and I'm really investigating that even to this day, being that better product. You know what I mean? I suppose.
Good. Yeah, that's so good, man. Well, tell me, because a lot of this it wasn't just you learned it one year, So you've been working in the arts and discovering who you are from a very early age. Maybe just tell us a little bit about your backstory, how you got into music, how you got into acting and things like that.
Well, it's saying, the story you sing. I'm singing since I was 6 years old, church singing. I was a very, very shy kid. My parents said that I used to cry when people said hi to me. There's really no reason why that kid should be me on somebody's stage at all, But I think, fast forward, I went to a performing arts school, a fame school. So I was in the choir at the time, and the principal of the school really pulled me aside. And I'll never forget, he said, potential's not enough. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Because I thought I was a pretty good singer.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're going to need to do more than that. And it was just, what's more? What is that? And that's when I joined the performing arts school to just learn about acting, to enhance my communication as a singer, if anything. I didn't even think I was going to set out to be some actor like that. But all those learning things just to push me to my best potential instead of just relaxing with the gift that you have.
Yeah.
It really put me in motion. And then, to be honest, when I sing, I feel God. So it was always I was trying to run away from that, thinking that's not going to be enough money for a family. That's not good. I didn't really want to do it. But every time I did it, I wanted to question the creator of that. And I'm still doing that. So my why is a little bit different than maybe some other people, because when I sing or hear something back, I'm like, woo, you know what I mean? It's not because I'm good. I really hear the gift. And so that gratitude has tethered me for my whole life to even stay in this business and to even continue. That's pretty much my why. You know what I mean? I want to see it through. I've been given something, so I just kind of want to see it through. So that's kind of my story about just kind of falling into it and then loving. See, I think the gift is a magnet, because from a person that wasn't a people person to a person right now that loves people, the voice is just really a minor thing that people can magnify. But just to get people's attention. That's how I feel. Yeah. What I really care about people is championing people, the underdog, because I felt that way before. You know? And then to try to give everybody their own. Everyone has a voice. Whether you sing or not, you have a voice. You have something to say. And I'm very moved by just people. You know what I mean? So the singing is just kind of part of it. And the acting, you know what I mean? The acting took off before the singing, which I always encourage people is like we have 10 fingers. Don't you might do one thing, but what else do you do? Because sometimes those come together, and it's not going to just be that one thing that you can serve. Now, I don't think you can do everything as well.
Sure. Right.
But for me, thank God I was into a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Kind of.
As I was watching you this weekend singing, I I kind of noticed the two worlds. I don't think I ever really. I've observed you sing a lot, but it occurred to me that there's really two worlds converging here. It's not, and it's the acting, the performing, the acting, and as well as the anointed singer, worshiper, right? And it's so like, and I qualify you as like you're a visual singer to me. Like you are so pleasant to watch when you sing.
Wow.
And like a lot of church folks, like I grew up, like I'm not a pleasant singer to look at. Like I'm sometimes you have your eyes closed or whatever. A lot of people in the church world, we're in that space, and it's a different thing, right? It's not intended to be like a spectator sport, if you will. But then you coming from the Broadway side, coming from the acting side, the film side, which is visual, as well as the audio, but you meld those two worlds together really beautifully. Thanks, to man. Where it doesn't come off flashy and superficial.
That's hard, man.
But it comes off. There's a entertainment quality about what you're doing, as well as a spiritual depth.
And I think that's just with anything that you do, whatever field you're in, it's a skill.
Yeah.
So I learned a skill of creating and singing and storytelling that serves me, serves what I really want to do is minister to people. So like God and that is a hard thing because you see a lot of the opposite side of a professional when they do worship. They're they're performing.
Yeah, and it's usually relegated like is one's good, one's bad.
Yeah, it sure is, man.
And there's beauty and there's utility and worth and value in both.
But what I would say in the technical aspect is when I learned about acting and stuff is the connection.
And
I think we might forget that some of us worship leaders or church people, we're connecting to God. We're so in it, And so it's a dual thing. I need to connect to God. I need to download. But I'm like really and you probably catch it. I'm very intentional with people. I might not see everybody's face, but I know the material and the song, and I know what I want. People, or I'm hoping they will feel. And I also feel like I'm a certain kind of vessel, but I'm glad you pointed that out. I think it is two worlds coming together. And I don't think about it, but that training, whatever was drilled into me, people, I'm up there, they're looking at me. What are they seeing? And that cannot not be part of it.
Right. And that's, I kind of even articulate that too, that is third culture. Like it's like these two worlds. Absolutely. They collide together and they uniquely blend together to create a distinct third culture. This is true. It's naturally who you are. Like you cannot help but include these pieces of your life.
But do you love who you are?
Yeah.
And it's taking me along. What you see, Vaughn, I'm telling you, this is not even being. I'm starting to love myself and think that I'm all right. I know what I'm not. I know what I don't have. So when I stand on stage with any kind of confidence, it's not arrogance. It's just like this. I've accepted this is what it is.
But comfortable in your own skin.
And I'm joyful. And I think that might be attractive to people, and that's good. I would love to. Don't be me. Be you. You know what I mean? And be happy with. There's some people who don't get it. He's not. You know what I mean? But I've arrived to that place, and the only reason you can ever arrive to any kind of place is when you know that when God looks at you. He's looking at you through a different lens than sometimes we look at ourselves. So I keep striving to look at how do you see me, God? I'm never going to get there. You know what I mean? And there's not to discard the bad and the negative, but for most part, God's like, way to go. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You're powerful, And so I'm like, well, let me start believing that. And what kind of power is in that instead of downplaying stuff like that, which is one thing I hate is false humility when people are, it's hard because you want to be humble.
Right.
But just be humble.
Don't play humble. You want to count you overcorrect.
A little bit.
The arrogance, you want to make sure you don't come off that a certain other way, so you overcorrect the other way.
A little bit. But there's no coincidence of your journey. Bring your whole journey, which is this whole third culture is beautiful because you believe in it because it is you. Bring that to the table in everything that you do. Show up. Don't subtract. Don't hide something because that is your identity.
And I think too, like, I don't know about you, but for me, being a father, now you get the other vantage point of the experience between you and God. You're like, you get a peace, it's still a finite peace, but like, wow, there's nothing that can make me not love my son.
Nothing.
And so that knowing that, okay, that's just a microcosm of what his love looks like upon us. Man, I've got to, we need to love what he loves.
Yeah.
And that's you is one of it, and so,
you made that. You made your son. I made my daughter. I made them.
Yeah.
So when we think about God, he made me.
Yeah.
And I'm acting a fool like I'm not this, I'm not this.
Like
I'm
you got to
like
be
that.
like him or her, or your return needs to look like theirs in order to please him. Yeah. And like, it's so kind of cliche, but like, when your son or your daughter brings you a painting that they did for you, like, is it the most magnificent piece of art in the world? Technically speaking, not most likely, but to you, it'd probably be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, because it was uniquely designed from something that you absolutely love with all your heart. So like, that's how he looks at our flawed gift. It's not perfect. It's on other comparison scales, maybe it doesn't measure up to someone else's, but when we do it for the Father, it's absolutely beautiful. And it's a hard thing it seems so elementary, but man, we can look over that so easily. And
we were talking about that too, about being grateful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that is really the key, to be grateful for what you've got.
Yeah.
As opposed, while you're waiting for more or less, whatever.
Right.
That gratitude really pleases God, I think, because he thinks it's good.
Yeah.
So every time you say it's not, and I don't have enough, and this, I think he's like, wait a minute.
Questioning the maker.
We have more than enough.
Yeah.
And you are more than enough. And there's room for everyone.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing about it. There really is a room, because your spot is already sealed.
Yeah.
Your position, you cannot be unseated from your position, from your job, from your promotion, from your... And that's when you're asking earlier how I might be able to relax in it, because I know, like...
this is mine.
Yeah. The manager is going to move it around for me to be in the right seat. Most importantly, at the right time.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Let's maybe just get light here for a second, because you've had the privilege to have a lot of really cool, unique experiences with some iconic things, and so like, what's like maybe one of the most name a couple, just because I know you have a few. Some of the most fun musical experiences, things that maybe you'll tell your grandkids one day.
Yeah, well, I think, one is The Lion King, to be able to, that was my first Broadway show, to play Simba in this iconic Disney musical that took me about 5 or 6 auditions to get. It wasn't like easy to receive it. And to be on stage on Broadway, on any stage, but that's the highest stage that an actor really wants to achieve, and to be the title role in that, and that Lion King experience. If you've ever seen it, you see the cartoon. The musical is artistically stunning, and it has a wealth of meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like, you talk about dreams. I've had a lot of dreams that I've wanted to come true, and then a lot of dreams that I didn't dream that happened. The Lion King was one of those great experiences where like I'm here. So that one, and I've worked with a lot of great singers. Phil Collins, went on a tour with Phil Collins. We did a Motown tour with the Funk Brothers. So we played all the Motown. Basically, he wanted to recreate his childhood, which was Motown, and he recreated all these songs to the T, other than the Phil Collins staple. But all the instrumentation was like the original. He just redid everything. And to go on tour with a legend like that was just reaffirming all these things, man. A lot of my life has just been, hey, you want to do this? Or hasn't been this big audition, or like just kind of fall into my lap, or which is always who is really important, how you conduct your business, because people call on you and stuff. But working with Smokey Robinson, aside from the Temptations, because he was in the film, being able to sing on his record was amazing. And I sang with Stevie Wonder. I barely sang because I was like, yo, it's Stevie Wonder. Terron was wrong. It's Stevie Wonder. That's right. I'll get to the notes. But he's right here. It was, amazing. But,
Well, Nate, how about some of your musical influences? Like, because, we said in the other segment that there's a statement that all art is theft.
Oh man,
and
I stole from.
We steal from everybody. So
everybody.
Like, who have you?
When I was young,
who have you stealing from?
A lot of it is Michael Jackson. I got that Michael Jackson thing. But when we were young, we would listen to gospel music, and the gospel artists were superstars. In my house, I didn't know I was missing out on anything. It was the Winans and the Commissioned, and I just thought they were the superstars. So I borrowed from that, like Babyface, Brian McKnight, Tracy Chapman.
Yeah.
Which was weird. My daughter was in the car, and Tracy Chapman came on. She goes, "Dad, that's you." She said, "Dad, that's you." I was like,
oh, wow.
And I wasn't offended because
she heard you.
She heard me and Tracy Chapman.
That's cool.
It was really kind of incredible. But and then Sam Cooke. He's a big influence to me. So you steal my yodel, and there's some signature things that I do now that I actually call signature. I feel like they're my things. That like they're theft.
Yeah.
But
it's assimilated.
It's a little bit, but I've owned them now in a way where I'm not thinking about that.
Sure.
They just come together. In a sweet kind of way, but yeah.
Speaking of, just your new project, the Soul of Broadway, and maybe give you a space to kind of talk about that, let the listeners know about that process. But that what you're describing, you did a whole project with that, of taking some Broadway tunes. Maybe talk.
Yeah, I had this idea maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I come from the Broadway world, but I'm not really in it. Like when I was a kid, I didn't listen to Broadway musicals or anything like that. I just kind of fell into that. And I talked to people, and some people say, Broadway's cheesy, they don't like it.
Right.
Or they don't understand it, right? So I said, what if I made a record in my style of these iconic Broadway songs, but like I wrote them?
Yeah.
And man, we came up with this great project that kind of takes it out of the character of the show and just makes it like, what if it's just a song that is not related to a character? And we produced a show, we did the record, and it's just really, and I took a lot of songs that I didn't even like, and just kind of flipped them with the same thing we're talking about with all of my theft, what I mean? Or whatever, to make something like fresh, and exciting. So I really like doing that. Cover songs or any way I could take a song and reinterpret it through my lens. You know what I mean? So the Soul of Broadway is actually like a movement that we kind of want to create to get people to listen. Because, you hear a song done the same way, you're not really listening. Or you even sing it the same way. Mm-hmm. And if somebody flipped it and said, even the Lion King, we have Circle of Life on the record, but we do it like a lullaby instead of like a circle. It's not this big. And you really go, wow, is that what they were saying? Or, so I think God has given me a gift in that interpretation. I know how to kind of interpret a song.
Absolutely.
And kind of make it me.
Yeah.
Read between the lines. Like and you can put, as a singer or a performer or an artist, a painter, I think you're putting a little bit of your story in there too.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Absolutely. And I think that's actually the whole third culture mentality. In fact, even Bruce Lee, if I can remember correctly, Bruce Lee.
Yeah, Bruce.
He said, he would, when he described his own journey in his martial arts. So basically, he started off in a certain style, and then he got to this point where he was like, they're just contrived responses. He's like, this is not realistic. He's like, so he tried to come up with a way, and eventually, along his philosophical journey, he said, he even had a saying, the way of having no way. His goal was not to be formless like water. And that's where you hear those iconic interviews like, be water, my friend. It can drip, it can crash, it can flow. But and I think he had this one saying, he's like, that you take what is useful, you discard what is unnecessary, and you incorporate what is uniquely your own. Wow. And to me, that's kind of like, that's a third culture mentality.
It's like, man.
Because like all of us do it, we inherently do it. Like that's why I say like we are all third culture in a lot of respects, but we all naturally do it. Like there's parts of my mom that I have, and there's parts of her that I've chosen not to take.
Sure.
You know, and it's not because I'm better. It's just because everyone has a different look on the world, and I take some things from Korean culture that I like, and there's some things I've discarded. There's some things I've taken from my father's side of the family, and there's a lot of things that I've discarded. And so, like, we make those choices, and that's why you do insert your personality on top of it. And it does become, that is how you make authentic, original stuff. And the cool thing about the Soul of Broadway, because if you haven't heard it, please go check it out, because it is, you can even talk more about how it's even more than just a project. It's a show that's moving on.
It's a
but I think that's really cool, and I think that's what great art does, is it exposes beauty to a new group of folks that have a different taste or that have a different experience.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of beauty in, like, whether you like it or not. There's a lot of rich, super talented folks that have created that whole culture of Broadway. There's a lot of super gifted musicians, super gifted writers.
Well, that's the whole thing. The whole thing about Broadway is to tell a story.
Yeah.
So whether you like the song or not, if you just read the words, you'd get something from it. It's like a singer that you don't really like because you don't audibly like their voice.
Right.
But they're a good writer.
Right.
So then say somebody else sang that same song. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I don't like her voice, but what they had to, so it's like maybe kind of repurposing that a little bit. And what I want to say, what you said a little bit about your story, when you can embrace your story and actually not hide, I think that's the most potent. I'm actually bringing my pain and all the things that are ugly and that are messy and making it make that available. Because it's too easy just to construct something that I want you to see.
Right.
But that's not all me.
Right.
So all of me is this, the good, the bad, and I'll put that up in there too, because that connects to someone else more than it would like just picking and choosing the best out of it all. As long as it's not detrimental to someone. But I'm just learning that in my old age that, if I were to take all the pain, all the struggle, all the challenges out of my story, which we would all want to do, and live this other life that was so perfect, so pristine, I wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
So I started to go appreciation, not necessarily for how the hard times made me feel, you know what I mean, or the pain, but thank you that I overcame them, and that is a chip or a tattoo on me. And every time I sing, when I sing, I'm bringing that.
There's
not just the goodness and the love and the acceptance. It's when I felt like a misfit. I'm bringing that into my voice.
Yeah, right.
And then someone in the audience goes, I feel him. Because he's not afraid to give me that. And, we always say that God does that. He makes everything beautiful and he makes everything useful.
That's good, man.
So it's a lot of acceptance, really. Like, I'm just going to accept.
I
ain't got no hair. I try to grow it. It don't come in. So there's no need to be. I ain't gonna wear a wig. It's small.
That's good. Well, just a few quick questions, like just a couple fun ones before we. I'm gonna let you just maybe drop a few insights for some young entrepreneurs or creatives and things like that. But like some fun things, like what's a dream duet? You could have anybody in history. What's the
in history?
Bro.
Oh, I'm just gonna say the first person that came to my mind is Toni Braxton. It might just be because I just want to be with Toni Braxton too, and say hi to her. But like, that's kind of her. If I just say on the top of my mind, I'm a fan of her too, because she was in that same baby face camp. I think our voices would go well together.
Dude, I loved their.
It was amazing. That duet album,
they
killed that.
That was so slept on. I thought.
Well, they got a Grammy for that, bro.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
But them coming together,
but it just felt like commercially, like it didn't seem to get as much appreciation.
Songs,
but
if you're a fan of that genre with two of those giants similar coming together,
that was so good. Yeah.
Or who else? Like a James Taylor, maybe. I don't know.
That would be an interesting mix, you two.
Yeah. It's hard to pinpoint one or two, but
that's the
my wife knows. She understands. It's okay. Don't send me any emails.
We've worked through this.
We've worked through that.
That's okay. Well, bro, as just on the way out, man, because one of the things that I appreciate about you too is not just a super talented gift. There's wisdom and there's depth behind that, and that's not always the case.
Yeah.
So like, to those young listeners out there, perhaps, or maybe even older, that maybe they've been on the jury and maybe they're disgruntled, maybe they're discouraged. What are some things that you would speak into to people that are trying to find out who they are?
Yeah.
So they're struggling with hearing no.
Yeah.
It's hard for them. They're still not over that. Or they're why does it never seem to work out? Yeah. Those types of things. The things that you've had to wrestle with too. So maybe just a few words.
Well, I mean, to any artist or young artist that's trying to do what you're doing, if you don't have a foundation underneath what you're doing, a why, or you are not going to make it because you're going to get told no all the time. So foundation, for me, is faith, family, a reason, a determination. I want to help people, whatever that is. And I'm not here to dictate what that is.
Yeah.
But your foundation, like anything, we could talk about a tree or anything that grows. There's roots there, you know. And good. If it's not, if it's a mixture of your grandma said you should sing or you should act, and it's not your truth and what you really want to do, you gotta like almost ride or die for this thing.
Right.
You really do.
Yeah.
And you got to do it when you're not going to get paid. You got to do it when everybody says no. You got to create when you don't have the resources. And if you're not down for that, I would question, because some young people, we just do things because we think we should, or someone's told us. Because a lot of people are like, you have a great voice, you got a great voice. I heard that all my life. If I were to really buy into it in the negative sense, I'd probably be tortured right now by it, or strangled by the fact that I need everyone. Why aren't you on American Idol? Why haven't you won a Grammy? But my foundation doesn't let me go to the place of where I think I should get this or that. And so I would tell a young person, investigate why. Are you in this for a long time?
Yeah.
And you can change your mind. Be kind to yourself. Maybe you went on this road and you were trying to be a singer and it's not working. Sometimes it just doesn't work. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. So if you're getting a lot of no's, unrelated to you being prepared and your talent, you got to really understand that too. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you could be lying to yourself if you should even be doing it.
That's good.
So I would say that, get the foundation of faith and the reason why you're doing it. And hopefully it's a reason beyond yourself. If it's just for yourself, I think you might strangle. I'm trying to be famous. I'm trying to make money.
Okay.
Try to find another reason that's outside of yourself. And then I would say one thing is be flexible. Be flexible. I didn't know I was going to be in the Temptations movie on Beyond Broadway. I didn't know I wasn't going to win a Grammy and never have a record contract. I didn't know that, my family would be way more important than anything else. And I was flexible with the calls that I got. I said, I'll try that. I'll be open. It doesn't always look like your plan and your vision board. I'm not against vision boards, but be flexible, have an expectation, have a dream, but don't let that define, in 5 years I'm gonna do this, and in 6 years I'm gonna do that, and you're so rigid with that. Be open. So those are kind of like my two things. Be open, accept your originality. Keep chasing your originality. Write. If you're a singer, you don't have to be the best songwriter, but you can write a journal, and when you get with a songwriter or a producer, it can be some of your thoughts in there at least.
That's good.
Write, create something that, because every time I write, I'm closer to my real voice. I can sing like Michael Jackson, but when I write a song from my perspective and then just sing
your thoughts,
it becomes original in that more than it is covering someone else's experience. So, and just endure. And my main thing is life is I look at it as a pie, right? So my life, if I don't have cherries and whipped cream on it, the extra good stuff on it, I still got a nice pie. I got a wife, I got great kids, I got love. The extra Grammys, cool things with Smokey Robinson, but those are cherries and sprinkles on top. And people flip that. I don't have anything if you don't have the extra stuff. No, you got a great, beautiful pie. And then when I get an extra thing, man, that's cool. It's not everything.
Right.
Doesn't subtract from what I already have.
That's good.
If that's a good analogy for people. So just appreciate that, and then treat what those extra things are in the right context, because there really are extra things. You don't know if we're going to be famous. You don't know if you're going to succeed this great, massive stardom. But do you have a platform? Do you have a little record? That's your pie. Cool. And you build on that. And just be grateful.
That's really good.
And remember where you came from and who's giving you, who you mad at. That's basically it.
Wow.
Like who's in charge of it all, and then you can accept.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it took me a long time to say I should have been this, or should have been this, or I could have been this. But then when I accept that it's all good, what I do have, it gave me so much peace.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, bro, thanks so much, man. Because like I don't even mean to close it off in a cliche way, but like this is profound depth that you're sharing. That's not. It's not fortune cookie.
And learn,
stuff.
my brother. And learn. It's not like I'm sitting here. I ain't gonna tell you my age. It doesn't really matter. But I've learned these things.
Yeah, man.
And I've chased that knowledge, to be able to say these things confidently. So it's definitely not something that I can just write a book about.
It's beautiful, and it's like, I mean, I'm learning and taking notes here, at just listening with this conversation. And hopefully, those who are listening are able to grab and appreciate the nuggets of wisdom that were gained by fire. They weren't just, you didn't. Those are things you don't just read in a book. Like they come from pain. They come from hurt. They come from tears. They come from the rejection, and they come from the dirt. And so, thank you for sharing this with us, man. And I just wish you all the best, man. I'm excited to see what this Soul of Broadway does, man. I want to see it go, man, because it's so uniquely you. It really is. It's like
finally a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It is, man. So
there's a lot of you in there. That doesn't look like a lot of other things that I see out there.
Well, man, to your point about third culture, which I'm so proud of you and Irene for doing, I do feel like this project is bringing the worlds together. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And meaning what I said earlier, it took time to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's just why it's happening right now, because I didn't have all the entities yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now it feels like nothing's missing or broken. And then there's just a confidence about it all now that really says, I did some songs and I'm like, I know, my wife was like, I don't like that song. You know what I mean? I don't take it personally.
Right.
I'll be like, oh, it's cool. But it took a long time to get to that place where and that's what art is. It's very subjective. Sure. You like it, I don't like it, I don't hear it,
Sure.
But artists out there, you have to love it.
Yeah. That's good.
You want everyone to love it, and you get the feedback, but do you love it first?
Yeah.
Or like it first.
Sure.
And, so I'm proud of you too, Vaughn, and I'm just glad for our connection. And anytime I am third culture.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Part of it, man.
Dude, absolutely, man. And just thank you again for I wish you all the best, man. Hopefully we can come back and do this again. We can get some other things. But, man, bless you and your family, dude. And thanks so much for being with us.
My bro.
Everybody, Mr. Terron Brooks, thanks for watching. Tune in next time.
Peace. Later.